I assume you're getting even with me for pointing out I did say
are
2.
live. What?
I assume
Oh, yeah, my hearing was really bad.
good. Did you give an extra, Ryan? How about 2?
Yeah, no, there were 2 sitting here. There were 2 different ones.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Being 6:55 PM, I will call to order the village board meeting for Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. Roll call is taken. All members are in attendance. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3 on the agenda, any village citizen to comment on an agenda item? Anybody sign in? Perfect. Item number 4 on the agenda is the consent agenda with 2 items. Looking for a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Item A, approval of minutes for the village board meeting of December 12th, 2023. And item B, approval of agreements for 2024 Jackson Fire Department services with the town of Polk and the town of Jackson.
Second.
We have a motion by Emmerich, second by Engelhardt. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, approval of licenses. So item 5A for the massage establishment license renewal for Blissful Massage, N163W20135 Ash Drive.
I'll make a motion to approve the licenses as listed.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Wells, second by Emmerich. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5B for the massage technician license renewal for Sarah Ibanez of Blissful Massage, N163W20135 Ash Drive.
I'll make a motion to approve the licenses listed.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Wells, second by Emmerich. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6 on the agenda is item coming from the Budget and Finance Committee. This is pay request number 2 for the State Highway 60 street lighting project from Will Surge in the amount of $94,502.93. This did come from Budget and Finance and Board of Public Works with recommendation to approve.
I'll make a motion to pay request number 2, Highway 60 State Street Light Project will surge in the amount of $94,502.93.
Second.
We have a motion by Wells, second by Kripke. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, items coming from Plan Commission. Item number 7A is the 2-lot certified survey map for parcels V3-053600F and V3-053600G for the Village of Jackson. The information on this one is in your packet. And Jen, you have anything?
I'd just like to clarify that the conditions listed at the Plan Commission meeting have since been assuaged. Therefore, we're looking for the board to make a clean motion, i.e. without conditions if they'd be willing.
I will make a motion that we approve the 2-lot certified survey map for parcels V3-053600F and V3-053600G.
Second.
We have a motion by Heckendorf, second by Kripke. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7B is amended site plan for parcel V3-053600F for 250 Focus LLC. Again, information was in your packet. And this did come from Plan Commission with a recommendation to approve, subject to the conditions on there. Jen, did you have anything further to add?
Like your other item prior to this one, there were conditions of approval recommended by the Plan Commission. Staff have worked with the buyer to address some additional landscaping requests to be placed around future signage, around the shared access, and some additional lighting considerations. While we didn't have the plan sets available for you all to review in the packet, staff have taken time to look and confirm to make sure that those conditions were satisfied. Therefore, if you're willing and able to, a clean approval could be considered tonight.
Anybody would like to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to, the amended site plan for parcel V3-053-600F for 250 Focus LLC.
Second.
We have a motion by Emmerich, second by Kripke. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7C is ordinance 24-01, amending the village ordinance section 6-54 pertaining to the maximum number of dogs per residence.
I'll move to introduce ordinance 2401.
Second.
We have a motion by Emmerich, second by Engelhardt. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
We would benefit from a second reading, yes.
I just have a question, because it pertains to the cats too that's in there, should it be something listed, something different, so people know, or like the ordinance itself, it just says for dogs, but in here it says cats too, how many cats people can have too?
Sure, the ordinance itself is only amending the number of dogs allowed. It still restricts the cats to, and Clerk Gunstead can correct me if I'm wrong, but right now we allow up to
Okay,
2. So the only movement via code here would be up to 1 more dog.
okay.
So just for my clarity, then in other words, you could have a person with 5 animals in the house.
Correct.
I will make a motion to suspend the rules for the second reading of ordinance 24-01.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Heckendorf, second by Emmerich to suspend the rules. Looking for a roll call vote, please.
President Heckendorf,
Aye.
Trustee Emmerich,
Aye.
Trustee Engelhardt,
Aye.
Trustee Matter,
Aye.
Trustee Krupke,
Aye.
Trustee Wells,
Aye.
Trustee Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Looking for a motion for the second reading.
And I'll move again to introduce ordinance 24-01 for the second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Emmerich, second by Engelhardt. Any further discussion? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7D on the agenda is review and consideration of zoning audit report. Would you like to give a brief overview?
I will take you up on that offer of a brief overview, Mr. President. One major benefit that we all have in broadcasting our meetings is that each board member had access to the probably more robust presentation at the Plan Commission meeting earlier this month. Our consultant planner, Tim Schwecke, Inspector Colin Johnson, and I have been working on the report prepared for the Plan Commission and board to consider authorizing us to proceed with seeking an audit. My apologies, a zoning code modification. The biggest takeaways from this report were highlighted into sections. Primarily, staff are focused on legally cleaning up how conditional uses ought to be considered in the village. We're also hoping to provide for a more streamlined and transparent way of considering approval of developments and or providing for development that may actually be less cumbersome or take a shorter amount of time to consider, as long as our requirements for that type of a development are clear from the get-go. And so I open the floor for any questions the board may have prior to staff looking to start the process to review and potentially amend the zoning code.
So in Mr. Schwecky's presentation, he did come up and did tell us about several things that do need some cleaning up in our code, so I would make a motion to direct staff to work on review and consideration of the zoning audit report.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Heckendorf, second by Emmerich. Any further discussion or questions?
Just, in working on it, what kind of investment are we making dollars, estimate-wise?
Thus far, the audit process itself has actually been under budget. We consider this to be a two-phase process, the first of which is the audit report before you all. That came in about half the price we signed a not-to-exceed contract for. Originally about $3,000, I think we came in about $1,300 to $1,500. Because our consultant is efficient in that way, I would assume the next phase, which we'll get a quote from him and at least one other agency or entity if they're willing, he has ballparked about 14 to 18 months. There's a series of public engagement pieces that are also requiring of that person's time. We may see numbers in the realm of 60 to 80,000 over the span of two budgets. This is in comparison to the city of Hartford that had signed an agreement for, I believe, 100 to 120,000. I can't quite recall. The city of Port Washington has recently engaged a similar process for more money than that. However, those are larger cities with probably far more provisions to comb through. I think our numbers we're shooting for are realistic.
Will this make things easier with the things we've been going through with the new generation of housing and some of the other things we're doing as we move forward?
Yeah, I think so. It will streamline a lot
Okay.
of these considerations of development proposals. We're also in the process right now of codifying or creating permanent districts for housing units that we consider to be less unique and more our hope for the future. There's something in here that mentions cottage housing. I can do one better. We have twin homes. So we actually are uniquely already there when it comes to strategy and how we see development working for Jackson. It's just, let's make it formally adopted in our code and sort of represent that in that way. And not use PUD as often.
Randy?
So the end result of this report and whatever, I'll be the first to admit that I haven't got a very good background of the entire zoning code, and I haven't read the thing from cover to cover. So the end result of the report, will it indicate like where changes are being made and where additions are being made? I mean, I read through some of the places where where our code is probably deficient now, but also will there be a comparative report of some kind explaining where changes are being made and where they are now and where they want to go for the future?
Absolutely. There's a significant amount of conceptual conversations we'll be having and including public input along the way. You will know what's changing by the mere adoption of zoning code amendments via an ordinance. So languages you'll see in ordinance amendments coming through. This is something I probably would have leaned on Planner Schwecky for a bit better of an answer, but these changes happen after you okay them, is my best answer.
And it will become piece by piece, basically, not one big lump.
I think so, yes. Like I've said, this is going to be a very long process, multiple calendar years, budget years. So there's nothing that's going to be secretive about it. It's probably more so prudent of the village board to maybe pay a little closer eye or attention to the Plan Commission's work. But they would be a recommending body to the board to adopt these changes.
One more question. Who will be involved in the discussion? I mean, like, will there be contractors and things like that involved in discussion and getting input and things like that?
Our consultant planner, Tim Schwecky, if we go with him for the rewrite, he would be a part of the public involvement plan, or the public participation plan, which covers both plan commission, board, and just the general public, and being a facilitator, if that answers your question.
Anybody else? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8 is one item coming from the Personnel Committee, is the intergovernmental agreement for building inspection services for the city of Hartford. So again, this was in your packet. This did come from the Personnel Committee with a recommendation to approve.
I just have one question on this.
Well, let's make a motion first and then we'll open it up for discussion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the agreement.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Engelhardt, second by Emmerich. Now, questions or comments?
Yeah, just reading through it, the other day too, and just looked at it again, that it says they have, 180 days, either side to pull out of the agreement. So that's just shy of 6 months. So if someone does that and say it's terminated, is this position then gonna be gone? Say Hartford pulls out and they give us a notice, they pull out then for the following year, say for 2025. Are we gonna be responsible then for the full boat of this position, or is that position gonna be eliminated then? You know, because they're not into it anymore, are we responsible for the whole thing? I was trying to read through here, I don't see 100% where that's, you know, either person's protected, like, you know, or is the position eliminated, you know, if someone terminates it, cause it's, I mean, or,
I would say that's certainly an opportunity to revisit it as a community, considering we only have a portion of what that employee's work hours would be. We are not on the hook. If the question is, are we on the hook for putting that person to work for the full chunk of time as the contract iterates? My answer is no, and I'll make sure the offer letter doesn't indicate such if we get to that point. But quite frankly, if we're gonna terminate the shared part-time employee, each party in that contract has the opportunity to think, so is this the end of that service? How do we revive it differently? Does that answer your question, Trustee Emmerich?
yeah, I just, you know, I don't want, if they would pull out, I'm not saying they are, but if they would ever pull out, and they give us the notice, and if this position is, if it's just gonna keep going, and we're on the hook for the whole thing, you know, for, you know, what's in the agreement for this position, you know, what the person's entitled to if we're stuck with that. And then I said, another comment I have is, I brought up before about make sure they stay within the hours so we're not paying, into WRS for them, retirement system, so that was a big thing that I don't wanna see happen, so.
Just to speak plainly, the contract itself indicates that the need for hours from both communities combined do have the employee working to qualify for WRS. I understand that that's not a pleasant aspect to the agreement itself, but we did talk about it at Personnel Committee. We've posted this position for fewer hours a week. It was posted when I arrived here to the village early in January of '21. It never was filled, and we currently have an employee that's looking to leave permanently that's helping us part-time. So while we do hope to avoid that, like you're indicating, Trustee Emmerich, at this point, we as an employer don't have any fish on the line when it comes to trying to post it with fewer hours.
Well, it wouldn't be hardest to limit the hours, I mean, some weeks they might not be working any hours or limited hours, and some weeks they might be working more. So someone just has to monitor their hours, and that would, to me, it's that simple, just to keep track of the hours a person's working, so if they get close toward the end of the year, hey, so we're not paying into retirement for the rest of the time, which costs the village a lot of money for a part-time position.
I do want to clarify, the contract says we get 2 days a week, which is 16 hours, and Hartford gets 1 day a week, which is a total of 24. And if an employee works 24 hours regularly, like the contract says, that is, in most cases, going to require the employee to receive WRS. But like I say, this stems from our need as a community, Hartford's need as a community, and we're going to share a lot of other types of costs. If the board wants to make that a condition, I understand, but that is not how the contract itself is written.
So would Hartford be, so it's a set amount that Hartford would pay us, right? So in that amount, did we take into consideration the WRS cost?
That would be split.
Okay,
That goes back to what if they pull out of the agreement and this person's actually an employee of the Village of Jackson, which it is for the contract, then are we responsible then to continue paying the WRS ourselves for this employee even, that's the problem that I would have, that we're gonna be on the hook for that.
So you're saying it'd be better the other way around, if we were contracting with them, as opposed to them contracting with us? For long-term obligation.
In that scenario, maybe, but again, we financially benefit from being the employer because Hartford kicks in more than just that employee's hourly equivalent or work those weeks. We have that fee that we're charging them, where they're kicking back money towards us.
Just
Or,
6.5%, I think it is.
and that is off of their total owed amount to us. It's not that hourly equivalent of that employee. So that number climbs quite quickly. I don't disagree with anything that's been said today, but I do rest back to, or circle back to, if something were to happen where Hartford pulls out of the agreement, that is a natural stopping point for us to revisit and reconsider whether or not we would be continuing with that shared, well, singularly, our employee in that situation.
And it's basically an hourly job, not a contracted job. Okay.
any other questions, comments? All in favor by saying aye? Aye. Any opposed?
Hey,
Motion carries. Item number 9 on the agenda is the West Bend School District report. Trustee Wells?
4K enrollment opened yesterday. The school board election on April 2nd, there's 2 open seats and 4 people running for that. And then I went to the meeting a couple weeks ago at the school board. They presented the budget side of the facilities plan. So the next step in that then will be to start conversations with the community and see where that goes.
Thank you. Item number 10, Washington County Board Report. I did not receive any correspondence this month. Item number 11, Greater Jackson Business Alliance Report.
We had a mid-January meeting. Our administrator, Jen Keller, spoke to our organization and updated us on what was going on around Jackson. We also had Josh Shulman from the county give a quite a good emotional speech about needing more housing and keeping our younger people in Washington County and what we can do to accomplish that. So it was a very good meeting, and then we also had an election, and we'll have a couple of new board members coming on, starting with our next meeting in February. So.
Thank you. Item number 12, Mid-Moraine Municipal Association Report. Don?
On Wednesday, January 10th, was the legislative meeting here in Jackson. Representative Gundrum was supposed to be the speaker that evening. He was unable to make it due to hearings in Madison. We did discuss Senate Bill 691, which relates to urban towns. The executive director, Middlestat, from the association was actually in Madison earlier that day speaking against that bill. What it relates to is towns that meet certain requirements, including a population minimum of 5,000 people, have additional, under this bill, would have additional rights that would be detrimental to communities such as ours. 3 areas in particular. One is that the towns can more or less demand municipal utility services like sewer and water, which would be, you know, if you look at the way a town is laid out, the properties are spread all over the place. You could run a 2-mile-long water main just to service one house if the town demands it. Elimination of extraterritorial zoning that municipalities currently have. And then additionally, weakened annexation laws. So if you have a subdivision coming in, one person could object and the entire thing would be tanked. Whereas now it's not written that way. So you know, as part of that, we discussed a resolution opposing that, Resolution 24-01 for the Mid-Moraine Municipal Association. There was not enough communities there for a quorum at that meeting. However, at the dinner meeting last week, Wednesday, there was, so that was passed, and it was, I believe, submitted today. I signed it last night, so. And in addition to that, in the interim, I've become the vice president of the Mid-Moraine Municipal Association. So the president was out of the country, so myself and Scott signed it, and I believe it was submitted today. And then at the dinner meeting last week, the speaker, Dan Anhalt, was speaking on behalf of EDWC. The presentation was focused around NPS, or Net Promoter Score, and that kind of relates to their approach to business proposals and how they evaluate the results and effectiveness, you know, with what they are doing. And as part of that, he discussed how communities could use it for various areas, you know, like around residential growth, how, you know, engagement with citizens and whatnot. You know, just trying to figure out where communities should focus their efforts as well, kind of the way EDWC uses it to focus their efforts and where they would need to potentially improve upon. And then the next meeting is Wednesday, February 14th here. I know the original plan was for the county executive Showman to be here, but he is not able to, and I forget if there was I think they're still working on. Oh, you've been asked? Okay. So I knew that they had been asking, or they had been working on someone else, but apparently we know who it is now. All right.
Thank you. Item number 13, closed session. I would make a motion for that the village board go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. The closed session is for the following purposes: to discuss the conveyance of property publicly owned in TID 7, and to discuss a development agreement, protective covenant, and shared access and maintenance agreement for a property publicly owned in TID 7, and to approve the sale of the property publicly owned in TID 7 to include the village board, village administrator, and attorney parmentier if needed.
Second.
We have a motion by Heckendorf, second by Engelhardt to go into closed session. Looking for a roll call vote, please.
President Heckendorf.
Aye.
Trustee Engelhardt.
Aye.
Trustee Emmerich.
Aye.
Trustee Matter.
Aye.
Trustee Krupke.
Aye.
Trustee Wells.
Aye.
Trustee Olson. Motion carries.
Thank you. Need some signatures? Yeah.
Other than that, if they read them, or they're-
Good night.
Night.